Opposition criticizes the government over its handling of the crime wave. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Bashan Brown. Also this evening, Security Minister says he's willing to meet with opposition to discuss crime, and the fire at Riverton City disposal site leaves officials fuming. There is also the business reviews, weather in this newscast, so stay tuned to the news in detail right after this break. Welcome back to Primetime News and a very special welcome to the viewers watching on onespotmedia.com. I remind as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot Media. The Andrew Holness administration is facing criticism from the parliamentary opposition over its handling of the crime situation with more than 600 persons murdered in Jamaica since January. This represents a 16% increase last year. According to police statistics, an average 4 killings were recorded daily in May. 136 persons were murdered. More than 15 persons were killed in the first 3 days of this month. In a release this afternoon, opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting said the country's murder rate is spiraling out of control. He added that the opposition is gravely concerned as these murders are happening right across the country, with only 2 of the 19 police divisions showing any improvement. The opposition says it is offering to partner for a national mobilization to fight crime. Mr. Bunting maintained that the rapid deterioration in public safety must not be allowed to continue unaddressed by the government. Meanwhile, the statement by the opposition spokesman on national security did not escape the attention of the National Security Minister. Robert Montague says he's ready to meet with Peter Bunting to discuss the crime problem. Mr. Montague was speaking at the funeral service for the late assistant of police Wintra Badu at the Palmer's Cross Seventh-day Adventist Church in Clarendon today. Current and former members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, family members, friends and other officials turned up at the Palmer's Cross Seventh-day Adventist Church to say goodbye to the man who served the force as Assistant Commissioner of Police. Wintra Badu collapsed and died last month. Police Commissioner George Quayler says Mr. Badu was a dedicated member of the JCF.
When I linked on his farm, my batchmate referred to him as when there are crimes committed, murders, he would cry and say, what is it we could do to prevent them? This one. He took it personally every time. And so to stand here today is not an easy task to say farewell to someone who has meant so much to so many of us.
The National Security Minister used the occasion to invite opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting to meet with him as the country grapples with a spate of killings.
And Mrs. Simpson Miller, I know you don't work with, but I saw the young man issue a statement and I want to again publicly invite him to come and sit down with me. I want to sit down with Peter Bunting one more time. Because crime is not a partisan matter. Crime affects all of us in Jamaica. And again, when I was appointed, I sat with him 3 times. And I want to extend an invitation one more time to this young man from Central Manchester. He may have ideas because I don't have all the ideas.
Mr. Montague says the police will soon have more resources to do their job. He says he has accepted recommendation from Mr. Badu.
He told me that the divisional officers, when they are to do inspections, sometimes they are short of vehicles. Sometimes they have to do their own use their own vehicles. And that the government ought to provide vehicles for the duty officer in the division to do inspections, especially at night.
He says the government has started the process to procure 19 mid-sized sport utility vehicles SUVs to be assigned to the divisional duty officers. Active consideration, he says, is also being given to purchasing 5 vehicles for area duty officers. Meanwhile, with the recent spate of killings across the island, at least one public commentator believes Jamaica is facing a national security crisis. Martin Henry was among the guests on RJR's weekly news review program That's a Wrap this afternoon. We have more in this report. The country's crime rate has been a hot topic within the past few days, especially with the number of multiple shooting incidents in Clarendon. Public commentator Martin Henry says national security is a public emergency that needs more resources. He says with all the talk about community policing, the hard policing of dismantling gangs, entering certain difficult communities, and maintaining law and order are important first steps to reduce the bloodletting.
I have long articulated, long argued that the police commanders in the geographical divisions and in the operations should be held far more responsible for delivering results. And they should bawl far more loudly about what they need to deliver those results. The murder rate is signaling a national security crisis.
Attorney at Law Nicole Gordon says she agrees that hard policing is important, but she says the country must also focus on addressing the social ills.
We don't want to because we don't see those results until 20 years time. But those are the seeds that we have to sow in order to reap the rewards later on.
Meanwhile, another attorney, Clive Monroe Jr., says he believes the police can do more to detect problems in certain communities.
Is it simply to see policing as a terminal event so that you come after the fact, post facto? Or is it to assess these things and step in a systematic and analytical way before they come? I am of the latter view, because that is a part of the policing, and it drives the positivity of policing, because it then makes other people feel confident enough to assist the police. But if it's always post facto, then I'm on my own, because after I'm dead I can't call anybody.
On crime, the police in Clarendon are partnering with school officials and targeting parents to reduce the number of youngsters behind bars and those involved in criminal activities. Commanding Officer Vendalyn Cameron Powell says the problem is greatest among students from volatile communities, but a few schools are being targeted. Here is TVJ's Krista Campbell.
For the past several years, Clarendon has been among the most challenging parishes as far as crime is concerned. A triple murder in the community of New Bowen, other shootings before that have again put the parish in a negative light. Now, the commanding officer for the parish, Superintendent Vendalyn Cameron Powell, says she's seeing more youngsters getting involved in criminal activities and helping to push crime figures up.
The population in my various lockups, they are from certain schools in the parish.
TVJ's Herman Green.
For NMA Executive Director Audley Gordon, there's no doubt that the recent fires were deliberately set. There have been 5 fires at 5 different disposal sites across the island within the past 3 months.
Retirement in St. James, Myersville in St. Elizabeth, Haddon in St. Ann, Doctors Wood in Portland, and Friday night into Saturday morning, the Riverton where we are currently standing. We don't think that this is coincidence.
The 5 fires, he says, has cost the entity close to $15 million so far. Mr. Gordon says, based on investigations, it's believed that individuals are deliberately setting the fires in an attempt to sabotage some recent efforts of the NSWMA.
And I use the word sabotage, and I use it strongly, because we are trying to do some things differently at the NSWMA. We are trying to professionalize the organization. We are trying to change the way we do business, to be more frugal in our spending, and trying to cut out some of the leakage that would have happened based on our historical evidences. And what we are seeing now is that obviously people are upset.
Another motive identified is that the fires are an attempt by some to force contractual employment to extinguish the fires. Previously, the entity would employ persons or entities to use equipment, soil, and manpower when a fire is started. But Mr. Gordon says that is no more.
Let me put it on the record. Those days are over. We will engage the army, the NWA, all of the government facility. I've had word with the Prime Minister already about this. We are not gonna allow ourselves to be held hostage by any selfish, unscrupulous criminal element who wants to hold us to ransom by lighting a fire, and then we'll run come begging on our knees.
He says he's working with the police and the military to increase security measures at the facilities. This may include drones and more security personnel. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Some councillors in Clarendon are expressing concerns about the allocation of funds to their divisions by the local government ministry. So during a council meeting recently, they sought to get answers, but councillor for the Mineral Heights division, Milton Brown, says they're attacking the local government minister. We have more in this report.
The meeting of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation was going as planned as the councillors met to discuss a wide range of issues, including the recent flooding and road repairs. But it was the discussion on the allocation of funds that changed the mood of the meeting. Councillor for the Milk River Division, Carlton Bailey, sought to get clarification on the local government minister's statements on providing assistance for education and burials.
People have been coming to me, and telling me that they're dead, and they're inquiring about back to school, and them house, 1 2 sheet of plan, 2 sheet of thing. So I need to be clear. I need to be clear when I am having dialogue with them. Yes. Yeah. So I don't want anybody to act as if say I'm being mischievous. I am representing.
That request did not sit well with Councillor for the Mineral Heights Division, Milton Brown. But for that statement, Cian Barneswell asked for an apology, describing it as an attack.
I want the member from the Mineral Heights Division to withdraw the statement about a subtle attack on the Minister of Local Government. Nobody tends to attack the Minister in any shape or form. All that we are saying is that his pronouncement in Parliament is not clear.
The mayor intervened, trying to restore order.
I've listened to all of you. And I just want you, those of us who have been here for quite a while now, representing your divisions. See, when was it that any division has ever benefited from a program that Mr. is putting forward for us now?
After 50 minutes on the same issue, Milton Brown withdrew his statements about the attack on the minister. Herman Green, TVJ News.
The vast majority of Jamaicans still do not have health insurance. That was revealed by the head of the Sagicor Group, Christopher Solutions, for Jamaica's ailing health sector. Speaking at this year's Medical Association of Jamaica MAJ's award banquet on Saturday, Mr. Zaka outlined the link between a better health sector and economic growth.
A below-standard health sector, most Jamaicans not being able to afford health insurance and health care.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's not good enough. We must do more to ensure more of our fellow Jamaicans have access to quality, universal health care. Even more so, the fact that of the 1.35 million people in the workforce, only 54% of the workforce have health insurance.
He says the total spending on health from the public and the private sector combined is also too low at about 5.5% of GDP. He believes that needs to be increased.
The truth is we need to be closer to 8% of GDP to be on a par with similar countries as ourselves, which have healthcare outcomes that can be said to be of a reasonably high standard.
He believes that needs to be increased.
The truth is we need to be closer to 8% of GDP to be on a par with similar countries as ourselves, which have healthcare outcomes that can be said to be of a reasonably high standard. I say reasonably high because real first world health economies are way over 8% of GDP spent on health.
To get to the suggested 8%, an additional $50 billion would have to be spent on health. Mr. Zaka argues that investment should be made as universal health care and economic growth and development go hand in hand. But while agreeing that current economic conditions will not allow for increased allocation for now, he says changes can be made in the public health sector to cut back on administrative duplications among the regional authorities.
To operate 4 regional structures in a little country with CEO of each, financial officer, accounting, HR, etc., etc. When you add it all up, we have in the public health system 2,622 administrative people and only 1,322 doctors.
He is therefore suggesting an urgent overhaul of the administrative structure as the start to a more efficient and effective health sector. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, several individuals were honored for their contribution to the medical fraternity at that ceremony. Among them were MAG Award Youth Consultant Pediatrician Dr. Basil Robinson and Consultant Obstetrician and Gynecologist Dr. Evan Nepal. Now the President's Award went to Consultant Anesthetist Dr. Ann Jackson Gibson, while TVJ's Shamela Mitchell copped the special award for the ongoing TVJ news feature, The Health Report. Congratulations, Shamela. Now, 2 persons are homeless following a fire in Balaclava, St. Elizabeth Saturday night. Reports are that about 10:30 at night, residents saw fire coming from a section of the building and alerted the occupants. The Santa Cruz Fire Department was called, but when they arrived, the building was already destroyed. Damage is estimated at $20 million. The cause of the fire is still not known. Ahead in Primetime News, the business review and international stories, we invite you to stay with us.
This is your business review. I'm Dwayne Burbick. The business review this week drills down into the recently announced plan to create a new urban center for Morant Bay at the old Goodyear Tire Factory in St. Thomas. Chairman of the FCJ, Littleton Tanny Shirley, says it's a plan that will cost $5 billion, with the hope the redevelopment can start before the end of this year.
When I mean urban center, I mean creating the synergies or fusion of government services with private sector services that would be allowing for small business, small manufacturing to piggyback on the big companies by virtue of their client base, by virtue of all the mixture of activities that could take place under one zone.
Just building out that space alone will create hundreds of jobs. And despite previous plans to redevelop the old tire factory not being realized, Mr. Shirley says he's confident that this newest proposal will be done. He said it does not mean the proposal to create a business process outsourcing BPO center is through the window, just that it will be enhanced.
We thought that we could create an environment that would do a broader set of business while supporting the demand of the BPO sector, which would be the catch-22, the winner in terms of high volume of employment.
Mr. Shirley says a local financial entity has taken interest in the project, but he didn't name the company, saying the discussions are at an early stage. And he's adamant that the new urban center will not result in Morant Bay becoming a ghost town, but one which will breathe new life into the St. Thomas capital. It's a center which he says will hold a host of government entities providing support to private companies. That includes a theme park aimed at showcasing St. Thomas and possibly attracting tourists to the parish.
This is an investment that FCJ will be making, which it will recoup.
How?
Recoup in terms of divesting of some of the properties, recoup in terms of rental facilities, and the projection time of recouping is within 7 years.
And Mr. Shirley says this is a project which will be realized to transform St. Thomas from being a forgotten parish. He says it will be the new center of business, supported by new highways, an expanded airport in Kingston, and deep water ports in the parish itself. For small businesses at the Morant Bay Urban Center, reprieve.
Small manufacturer will be able to reduce energy costs by up to 60%. By a mixture of windmills and also PV.
That will be set up?
That will be set up. We have enough roofing surface area to facilitate that.
All that is left to be seen now is if this latest plan for the old tire factory, which was closed 20 years ago, will come off. That's the business review. I'm Dwayne Burbick. Good evening.